Tax day is now less than 1 week away. Starting or staring at a pile of forms or receipts or whatever at home, or whether it's documents on your computer, it gets pretty overwhelming, especially when you know the clock is ticking. Joining us in studio right now, CPA Ken Miles with a little expert advice. Welcome to the studio. How did you get out? I've never seen a CPA out of his office this close to tax time.
That's a great question. I should be back in the office, and I should be heading back there after this interview.
Don't leave yet. Let's start with tax breaks. What breaks get you the biggest bang for your buck here?
You know, the biggest bang for your buck is really home ownership. But barring that, and since it's after December 31st, where you lost your opportunity to do some planning, right now the best things that are available to the average individual would be an IRA deduction. If they make a contribution to your IRA, if you're eligible, you can do that up to the filing date of the tax return, which is April 17th this year.
A lot of people have been hit hard by the economy. Some people have lost their homes and things like that. Is any of that tax deductible when you're talking about filing your return, if you can file a return?
Well, actually, unfortunately, things like unemployment compensation actually are taxable in some situations, so there's really no real relief there. There is one area that's being talked about by the IRS. It's a program that's been around for a couple of years now, but they're starting to really emphasize it, and it's called the Fresh Start Program. And what that is designed to do is to help those individuals that were unemployed for at least 30 days during 2011, or 30 days so far between January 1st of 2012 and April 17th. If you qualify, and if you wind up owing taxes with your tax return, and you are unable to pay those taxes by April 17th, there is normally a penalty for failure to pay. The government will relieve you of that penalty if you then ultimately pay it by October 15th of 2012.
So your accountant or CPA should know about that, and if not, can you get online and find out information about that?
Yeah, the IRS website really is fantastic. IRS.gov, all kinds of information there, all types of forms. Great website.
Most people get a refund, though. I'm surprised about that.
I wish I knew more of them. I'm not one. You know, it really depends, especially in this economy when things are tight. Quite often people adjust their withholding to have less taxes withheld because they're not quite making it. And because of that, they get a big surprise at the end of the year when they prepare their tax return.
The other big surprise we talked about when we're talking about the IRS and taxes is the dreaded A word, the audit. How do you avoid that? You
know, the audit's an interesting thing. You can't really avoid it. At the same time, remember this. About 1% of all tax returns get audited. So right there, the chances are that you're not going to. As far as doing things to avoid an audit, IRS doesn't really share this information, but I think there are certain areas that they look at. Some red flags. One might be if you're self-employed, you have your own business. If you're showing losses from that business year after year, the IRS starts to wonder, how are you surviving? How are you doing that? And they start to become suspicious. I think another area to consider watching out for are charitable contributions, specifically the type where it's a non-cash, where you go and you donate or clothing or things like that, to not be overly aggressive in that area.
Biggest mistake you think people make when it comes to filing tax returns?
You know, surprisingly, the biggest mistake is really accuracy-related mistakes. People that don't take the time to make sure they fill out exactly, put the right numbers on the return, that will cause an instant letter from the IRS because they're matching things up. So the simplest thing is really what causes the most problem. Make sure you're accurate when you prepare your tax return.
Is everybody eligible for an extension? Let's say you get to this point and there's no way you can get all those receipts together and get them into the right person or even do it yourself. Is everybody eligible for an extension?
The answer is basically yes. There's a form 4868 for the IRS. You fill it out. Remember, though, it is simply an extension to file your return, not to pay the tax that you owe. So we advise our clients, if you can't file your return on time and you are unable to pay the tax that is due, file that return if you can. If not, go ahead, file that form 4868, pay in whatever you can with that form. You will then ultimately, upon filing of your tax return, you'll get a notice from the IRS saying, hey, you still owe X dollars in tax. The IRS is very good today. Up to $50,000 of tax owing They will work out an installment plan with you. Now, you still pay some penalty and interest, but they won't be on your back constantly for not paying. Very easy to do. Worst case, you should consider doing that.
You may be the only person who could say that. The IRS is very good these days because it's those three letters strike fear in a lot of people's heart. Thank you so much for coming in. I do not want to keep you from your taxes this evening, so back to work.
Great.
All right, take care. We'll be right back.